How many of you watching this video water your lawn? Would you say that watering your lawn has to be done? Today I'm going to talk about why the U.S. should have restrictions on water usage. My purpose for this topic is for my audience to understand that even though we are surrounded by water, our water supply is very, very low, and this will make us more environmentally sustainable. The overall benefit from this speech would be that people could cut down on their water usage so we can make what we have last longer and thus make us more environmentally sustainable. I will tell you why we need water restrictions by showing you how unsustainably we use our water, how there could be a conflict over water, and then have a plan to fix this. But first, before we talk about how we use our water unsustainably, we need to talk about how much fresh water we actually have access to. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is the United States Department of Commerce, in 2013 they said 97% of the Earth's water is salt water. So that means that 3% of the Earth's water is fresh water. But we don't have full access to that 3%. 2.2% of that 3% is polarized, so that we can't use. And then 0.3% of the 3% is water that is found deep underground that we don't have access to, and we don't have the technology to reach it. So that is also we can't use it. So what it boils down to is that we only have access to 0.3% of the world's fresh water. Now that we know how much fresh water we have access to, let's talk about how we use our water unsustainably. We use our water unsustainably by wasting our water and polluting our water. According to the EPA, in 2013, an average American uses 100 gallons of water a day. It'd be amazing to find out how many gallons of that 100 gallons of water is just water wasted. Good examples for me of how I waste water is not finishing my water bottles, taking long showers, and then letting the faucet run when I brush my teeth. It's not that these are huge wastes of water, but over time they can add up to be. We also use our water unsustainably by polluting it. Water pollution is any human-caused contamination of water that reduces its usefulness to humans and other organisms. So good examples of this would be like fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and oil in our water. It'd be amazing to find out how much of our water here in Nebraska is polluted due to our agricultural activities. Now that we know that our water supply is very small and that we are wasting and polluting that supply, I will talk about how there could be a conflict over water. It's no surprise to anyone when I say that there are places around the globe that have little to no water at all. India, for example, according to UNICEF, which is a website that fights for children's rights, says that India has 20% of the world's population and only 4% of the world's fresh water. China, their wells are drying up and their rivers don't reach the sea. I'm bringing this up because when these places run out of water, or other places not mentioned, what do you think they will do? Do you think they'll fight for it? Where do you think they will go? Wouldn't you think Nebraska would be a good place for them since we have the largest underground source of water in the Ogallala Aquifer? It'd be pretty promising to me if I didn't have any water. According to Few Resources website, which talks about water scarcity, by 2030, almost half the world will live under conditions of high water stress. That's in 16 years, and it is something that we're going to have to deal with in our lifetime if we do not fix how we are currently living. With that, let's talk about a plan to fix all this. Some proposed solutions in the past have been that we could increase our water supply by pumping more groundwater, but that would also mean that we're decreasing our groundwater supply. We could build dams, we could transfer water to areas in need, or we could do a process called desalination, which means taking the salt out of salt water. But this is very, very pricey to do. None of these proposed solutions actually fix the problem, but I believe that restrictions on water usage will. Right now, the U.S. has no restrictions on water usage unless the area is in a drought. According to the California Waters Board, California is currently having water restrictions. They are in the worst drought in their history. People in California use most of their water outside on lawns and landscapes. Because of this, they can now not wash down their driveways, and their sidewalks, use a hose to wash their car, water outdoor landscapes that would cause excessive runoff, and use potable water in an outdoor fountain or decorative feature unless the water is circulated. And if they get caught doing any of these, it's a $500 fine. Now obviously these are just little water restrictions, and what I'm talking about would be a lot bigger, by something like limiting how much water a person could use a day. Today I've talked about why the U.S. should have water restrictions. The U.S. should have water restrictions because we use our water unsustainably and there could be a conflict over water. Again, I'm going to point out the fact that we only have access to 0.3% of the world's fresh water, and someday that's going to run out if we don't change the way we live. What we can do is to limit our water usage, join organizations that talk about conservation, and write to our local congressman about imposing a water restriction law.